A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News here on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I am Hashini Patirana. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
If you work with integrity, public officials should not be afraid. A statement from the Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption.
Sri Lankaවේ රජයේ සේවකයින්ට යම් පණිවිඩයක් දිය යුතු තිබෙනවා. මම මට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ යම් රජයේ නිලධාරියෙක් රජයේ සේවකයෙක් සත්භාවයෙන් කරන කිසිවක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඔහු වගකීමට නොබැඳෙන බව.
Western Province Special Operation. A major law enforcement operation leads to hundreds of arrests. Detention order over Maravilla businessman's murder. Main suspect remanded. Excise department earns 120 billion rupees in first 6 months. Flash floods in Texas, 24 dead, several missing. Royal loses to Trinity College. St. Thomas's lock horns with the Sipapana.
On to our top story tonight. If public officials are not involved in bribery or corruption, they should have no fear in carrying out their duties with integrity. Now, this was a comment made by Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, Ranga Dissanayake, who emphasized the importance of establishing a public service that is free from political interference. The second annual general meeting of the Semi-Governmental Executive Officers Association was held at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute under the patronage of Ranga Dissanayake, Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption.
When we talk about bribery and corruption, we all know what has happened to our country. People say these issues must be stopped, but it wasn't foreigners, whether from India or elsewhere, who came here and committed these acts. If someone took a bribe or engaged in corruption, causing losses to the government and profiting personally, it was our own people who did it. The problem is that among those calling for action against corruption, some are themselves corrupt. That's why we say publicly that we'll take action. The real challenge arises when those very individuals are asked to be held accountable.
Dissanayake explained how the Anti-Corruption Act empowers authorities to prevent bribery and corruption.
The
Anti-Corruption Act number 9 of 2023 is a progressive step in Sri Lanka's fight against corruption. It is not just about investigating, prosecuting and punishing offenders. The Act includes 4 key pillars aligned with international conventions: prevention, education, institutional strengthening and legal action. No country in the world believes corruption can be eradicated solely by punishing offenders. A clear shift in mindset is essential. Recently, we entered the Department of Motor Traffic and recovered 4.1 million rupees from a deputy commissioner. That was just 1 week's collection, which was then distributed among officials. So who within that unit is going to report the thieves? Everyone knows what's happening, but no one has filed a complaint. This is the reality of corruption in Sri Lanka. In some institutions, money is pre-allocated for bribes. Officials believe it's something they're entitled to. That's how normalized corruption has become. A change in attitude is absolutely necessary.
Dissanayake also addressed the argument made by some accused individuals that their actions were in service of the public.
Corruption, dushanaya. Dushanaya කියන වචනේ තියෙන විශේෂ වරදක් තියෙනවා ලංකාවේ.
The word corruption carries a serious offense in Sri Lanka. If a public servant knowingly causes loss to the government or gains an advantage for themselves or others using their official power or influences another official to do so, that constitutes corruption. Some claim they didn't personally benefit, but they haven't read Section 70. That's not a valid excuse.
සමහර දේවල් සමහර දැන් වැරදිකාරයෝ වෙච්ච අය ගෙදර ගෙනිච්චේ නැහැ කියලා Section 70 කියවලා නැහැ.
He clarified how certain actions taken under cabinet decisions can still fall under corruption.
අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩල තීරණය අරගෙනක් තියෙන්නේ corrupt intention එකෙන් නම්
If a cabinet decision is made with corrupt intent, it is not legally valid. You know, there's a case against a former minister regarding pharmaceuticals. There are cabinet papers for that. There is also a case involving organic fertilizer, where Sri Lanka incurred a loss of $6.9 million. Cabinet papers exists for that too. The uniqueness of these offences is that the individuals didn't need to do anything personally. The intent behind the decision is what matters.
Tisanaika offered advice to public servants on how to act responsibly.
There may be uncertainty among public servants. Will I be accused of bribery? The answer is simple. If you act with integrity, this law does not apply to you. Also, saying I did this because the minister told me to does not absolve you of responsibility. That's why the law includes provisions on undue influence. Many instructions are verbal, but some officials at least record them in their logbooks, noting that they were compelled to act despite knowing it was wrong. We haven't arrested such individuals. Public servants in Sri Lanka need to hear this message clearly. If you act in good faith, you are not held accountable under this law.
තමන්ගේ කිල්ලෝටවල හුණු තියෙන මිනිස්සු වෙන වෙන අර්ථ නිරූපණ දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
Sri Lanka Law College, the esteemed institution responsible for training professionals who uphold the country's legal system, hosted an insightful discussion on law and professionalism today in Colombo. The discussion took place during the Mid-Year Law Conference 2025, organized by the Law Students Association of Sri Lanka. The conference exchanged views on how professionals currently handled certain cases and commissions using real examples to further illustrate points. The Mid-Year Law Conference brought together judges from the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal, legal practitioners, academics and law students from state and private universities across Sri Lanka for a full day of insightful discussion on pressing legal and social issues.
There will always be in any situation, you will find the good, the bad and the ugly, right? Anything we do, you ask yourself, have I been good the entirety of my life? Have I been bad on certain occasions? And have I been ugly on certain occasions? The torch inwards, soul searching, right? So like that, like each individual, if you expand it across, the same thing will apply, right? But we have to move forward. These are attributes that one must have, and I can tell you this: wherever these attributes whenever lawyers have fallen short of these qualities, whenever judges have fallen short of these qualities, if they are brought to the attention of the decision maker, action has been taken. You cannot criticize unless you are willing to also go and complain to the relevant authority.
අපි දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවක් වශයෙන් බලනවා අපේ යවන නිලධාරියා නීතිපතිවරයාගේ නියෝජිතයා. ඒතර ඒ උසාවි වලට එනවා අනුජ ප්‍රේමරත්න.
As a department, we oversee this matter carefully. When we assign an officer, if they are sent to the Bardulla High Court, he acts as the state counsel of the Uva province. Senior lawyers such as Anuja Premaratna come all the way from Colombo to appear in those courts. Facing such a strong legal team, it's challenging to confront them and maintain confidence in court. For example, when the suspect Deshabandhu Tennakon was remanded, he came to Matara to post bail. I opposed allowing the suspect to have with 2 appointed lawyers. I was against it, and they were not permitted to communicate. Even if 10 presidents' counsels were present, only one would be allowed to speak at the court. I was against Anuja Premaratna as well, but he told me he came after he collected a fee and requested 5 minutes to speak. That is maintaining the professional relationship. If we went against him, even when he came from Colombo, even the judge wouldn't have permitted it. Even if permission was granted, it could create a bad image, because I also would tell the court that there are 5 state councils and to allow all 5 of them to speak. We didn't go against it because of the professional relationship. His juniors must have learnt a lesson that day. I have been appointed to the Parliamentary Committee investigating matters related to Deshabandhu Tennakon. This committee does not merely review complaints but acts impartially. For example, Preethipadnan Sirasa, a senior Supreme Court Justice, is heading this committee. We bring witnesses and present evidence. During one season, I asked the witness whether he had been informed of a certain incident after it happened. He said no. I paused the questioning there. The judge then asked if he learned about it later, to which the witness replied he was informed about 1 or 2 months afterwards. This was crucial for our case, as it clarified the timeline for information disclosure. That day, I realized some questions may only be answered after the fact. It is difficult to decide immediately when questions arise, but we must ask and consider those issues carefully, even if the answers take time.
You have to get used to working long hours, concentrating for long hours, and suddenly when you get up, you feel drained. So once you feel drained, you must still be able to bounce back and get along with it. I'll tell you, one of the most important soft skills is how you handle yourself in court, how you respect the court, how you respect your opposing counsel. If you don't maintain the dignity of the profession, not only will the profession fail, we will also fail, because more the dignity of the profession is kept.
Women make up less than 23% of parliamentarians, with an average of 18% in the Arab region.
The main national event of the Sri Lanka Medical Council's centenary celebrations was held in Colombo this evening.
The Sri Lanka Medical Council is celebrating its 100th anniversary in 2025. The main national event of the SLMC's centenary celebrations took place today in Colombo with participation of Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, Minister of Health Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa, other cabinet ministers along with professionals of health sector and other distinguished guests.
I believe we are at a crucial moment in medical education. But we have the advantage currently that the government in place is aligned with the need for professionalism in medicine, and is aligned with the principles and the standards that the SLMC wants to uphold. We too believe that strengthening the professional ethics and the integrity of our healthcare professionals is absolutely essential in order to safeguard the healthcare system in our country on behalf of our citizens. I think if there are two things that our country can be proud of, historically proud of, apart from what we think of traditionally, I think it is our health and our education systems, as challenged as they are. I think our public health and public education systems are truly institutions that we can be proud of and which we need to safeguard and protect for future generations. We have a lot to gain, therefore, and we have a lot to offer from deeper international collaboration in medical regulation, education, and research. We must make sure that our international recognition and standing is not compromised under any circumstances. Ladies and gentlemen, as we look to the future, I want to take this opportunity to reaffirm the government's commitment to preserving and strengthening the independence, integrity, and effectiveness of the SLMC. We believe that regulation must not be politicized. It must be principled. It must not be static. It must be responsive. It must not be adversarial. It must be inclusive and built on trust. That is why in our policies and our reforms, we will continue to create space for regulators like the SLMC to thrive as partners in governance, as stewards of quality, and as guardians of public confidence.
We live in a time of profound transformation in healthcare. The old certainties are given way to new complexities. As we move toward universal health coverage, digitalized care, genomic medicine, and cross-border service delivery, regulation must keep pace. The SLMC is not immune to these pressures. It is, in fact, at the center of them. That is why the Minister of Health is committed to working with the SLMC to ensure it is fully equipped legally, administratively, and professionally to meet the regulatory needs of this new era. This includes supporting updates to the medical ordinance to better reflect current and future realities, encouraging closer collaboration with other health professions regulatory bodies, promoting alignment with global standards on medical education and licensure, and ensuring that the voice of patients and the public is heard in how regulation is designed and delivered.
All of us working together to look at the human resources for health in this country in its broader context. It's not a case of how many doctors we need. We are now in an era of multidisciplinary education and care. We need the other categories of healthcare professionals also to be produced. We need for the country a broad workforce plan. What is the healthcare workforce that we need for the country? And then once we determine that, how do we align our higher education sector, which is in the realm of the Prime Minister, and the recipient of the products of that higher education ministry, which is in the realm of our Honorable Minister of Health, how do we align that and so that we produce the essential manpower that we need, accounting for various needs, such as the needs of the education sector, the higher education sector, the medical faculties, the needs of the private sector that is growing, taking into account international migration and how we bring back benefits of that to the country, and so on.
To mark this historic milestone, a commemorative stamp of the Sri Lankan Medical Council, issued by the Department of Posts of Sri Lanka, was ceremonially released at the centenary celebrations, preserving its legacy for generations.
341 suspects have been arrested in a special operation conducted in the Western Province. The operation, which was carried out from 7 p.m. to midnight last night, involved the police, Air Force, Army and Navy, as well as officers from the State Intelligence Service and the Police Special Task Force. The police also said that 159 cases were filed in connection with 324 grams of heroin discovered during the operation. In addition, it has been decided to file 203 cases regarding 332 grams of ice, 160 cases regarding 294 grams of cannabis, and 181 cases regarding illegal alcohol. The Ministry of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs urged the public to extend their full cooperation for these searches in hope that such special search operations will be carried out island-wide in the future. The Ministry of Public Security has directed all police stations island-wide to intensify anti-drug operations in a major crackdown on narcotics. Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypala said that instructions have been given to obtain the assistance of Sri Lanka Army and Sri Lanka Navy, as well as the Police Special Task Force for search operations. The minister has further directed authorities to convene public security committees and collect detailed information related to individuals involved in drug trafficking. The minister highlighted that ongoing investigations have uncovered the involvement of drug traffickers in several recent shooting incidents. Since the 13th of April, a total of 31,209 suspects have been arrested in drug raids conducted across the country. The highest number of arrests has been related to the trafficking of the narcotic ice, with 10,912 cases filed and over 102 kilograms of the substance seized. Additionally, authorities have filed 9,300 cases related to heroin trafficking, with police recovering more than 299 kilograms of heroin during the same period. Sri Lanka police say that all suspects involved in the murder of a young businessman residing in Katun area Maravilla have been arrested. Police said that 4 suspects, including the main suspect, have been arrested so far and that all of them are friends of the murdered businessman. Recently, the body of the businessman was found in a ditch at a vehicle service centre in Lunuvilla, Udasirigama. This was in response to an investigation conducted following a complaint filed by the businessman's mother to the police that he had been missing since the 30th. The police first found the luxury cab belonging to the businessman, which was parked at the house of the main suspect in the murder, a resident of Venapur.
Subsequently, the suspect was arrested, and during questioning, it was revealed that he had been beaten to death with a sharp weapon at a vehicle service centre in Lunuvilla Udasirigama and thrown into a pit there. The police said that they were having a party at the time. A heated argument had broken out between them, and the businessman in question had been murdered. Meanwhile, the body of the murdered businessman was recovered yesterday. The victim was a 31-year-old businessman named Srijit Jaishan, a resident of Katuneria Maravilla. All suspects were produced before the Maravilla magistrate today.
The fourth week of the 2025 Inter-Schools Rugby League tournament kicked off today with Royal College Colombo failing to Trinity College Kandy in a series of fiercely contested matches.
As they secured the Rizvi Shuaib's trophy this time, St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia was able to defeat Colombo's Isipatana College, who had remained undefeated in the tournament so far. Host St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia won the match by 36-24. The host team was able to add vibrancy to the match with 5 tries, 4 conversions and a penalty kick. Isipatana College scored only 3 tries, 3 conversions and a penalty. In the tournament, Trinity College Kandy secured a convincing victory defeating Royal College Colombo. The host team posed a strong challenge to Royal College, but they were unable to score a try. Trinity College secured 6 tries and 2 conversions in the match. Royal College managed to score only 4 penalties. Accordingly, Trinity College won the match by 34-12. This marks the final encounter between the two teams before the 79th annual Rugby Shield rugby match. The first leg of this year's Rugby Shield annual rugby match will be held on the 23rd of August and the second leg will be held on the 6th of September.
The second one-day international cricket match between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh is currently underway at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. Winning the toss, Bangladesh chose to bat first and were bowled out for 248 runs. Parvez Hossain scored a maiden ODI half-century, and of Sri Lanka's bowlers, Asitha Fernando was the most incisive, finishing with figures of 4 for 35 off 9 overs, strengthening his place as the team's top pace bowler across all formats. Sri Lanka is currently at 164 runs for the loss of 7 wickets at the end of 37 overs.
Very warm and special welcome to Your Excellency Thabo Mbeki. Thank you so much for gracing us this evening.
An exclusive conversation with the legendary Thabo Mbeki, former South African president and vice president to the legendary Nelson Mandela. Value the past, build the future, liberation, unity, tough truths and lessons for Sri Lanka.
How did you balance this dual responsibility?
I would say today, it's really because you base your knowledge and your experience on the experience of the past.
Former President of South Africa Thabo Mbeki in conversation with Siobhan Daniel. On air on Wednesday the 9th of July at 10:30 p.m. on Sirasa TV.
Welcome back to the news. In more local news, the Excise Department of Sri Lanka has generated a revenue of 120.5 billion rupees during the first 6 months of the year. This marks a 102.6% achievement, surpassing the target set by the Ministry of Finance.
The Excise Department said that it contributed 226.7 billion rupees to the government last year. In terms of revenue, the department had earned 178.6 billion rupees in 2023 and 170.3 billion rupees in 2022. The Excise Department also played an active role during the National Tax Week launched under the President's concept of Badu Shakti. This included continuous inspections of licensed premises, monitoring of license holders, raising public awareness and cracking down on illegal alcohol production.
The harvesting of the yellow season paddy crop has now begun in several areas across the country. How does the paddy procurement process take place? Newsfirst visited several areas to inquire into this matter.
Currently, the yellow season paddy harvest is being reaped at several places in Anuradhapura. Farmers say that the price set by the government is sufficient.
රජය ගිය කන්නේ වගේම මේ කන්නේත් වියලි වීයට 120ක මිලක් දීලා තිනවා. ඒ මිලට සාපේක්ෂව බලපුවාම අක්කරයකට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කිලෝ 2000ක් පැවුනත් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් එතකොට 2,40,000ක් විතර මුදලක් ගොවියට එනවා. එතකොට අක්කරයක නිෂ්පාදන විදිහට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් යන්නේ 80,000 90,000 අතර වගේ ප්‍රමාණයක්. ලක්ෂයකට වැඩි ලාභයක් ගොවියට ඉතුරු වෙනවා. ගොවියෙක් වුණාම දැනගන්න ඕනේ තමන්ගේ නියර රහ ගන්න එක, බඳ ගන්න එක, තෙල් ටික පොහොර ගහ ගන්න එක තමන් කරගන්න. එහෙම කරගත්තා නම් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඔය ලාභය ගන්න පුළුවන්.
මේ මිල 120 සාධාරණයි නාඩුවිය වලට. එතකොට මේ අපිට ඒ 120 ඇතිවෙ කියන්නේ අපි හරියට ගොවිතැන කරන්න ඕනේ. කුෂිකර්ම නිලධාරීන්ගේ උපදෙස් අනුව කරුවොත් අපිට හොඳ අස්වැන්නක් ගන්න පුළුවන්.
Farmers in Suryapura Kantali says that although the government did announce a price beforehand, it still falls short of their expectations.
වෙනදා අතරම අපි ගෝයන් කපාගෙන ගියාට පස්සේ තමයි අපිට මිල තීරණය වෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේ මේ ආණ්ඩුවෙන් එහෙම කරේ නෑ. අපිට මුලින්ම මිලක් දුන්නා. ඒ මිල ප්‍රමාණවත් මදි කියන එක තමයි අපි කියන්නේ. නමුත් මිල යම් ප්‍රමාණයකට වැඩි කරලා දෙනවා නම් හොඳයි. රජයේ මගින් සාධාරණයක් ගොවියට ඉෂ්ට කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ යම් මුදල මිල තීරණය කිරීමක් මගින් ඒ උනාට ඒක මදි කියන එක තමයි කියන්නේ.
Farmers in Ampara report that although the government has announced a price, private buyers are purchasing paddy at significantly lower rates. This season, approximately 7,400 acres of paddy were cultivated under the Pottuvil Agricultural Division in Ampara.
சரியான விலை ஒன்று செல்லியும் கூட இந்த குறைஞ்ச விலைக்கு எடுபடுது நெல். இது எங்களுக்கு அரசாங்கம் விவசாயங்கள்.
In the eastern province, farmers from Thambanamwewa of Kardianaru area in Chenkaladi in particular are currently engaged in harvesting the yellow season.
விவசாயம் செய்யாத இந்த அரசாங்கம் எல்லாம் இந்த வருஷத்தில் எல்லாம் முன்கூட்டியே எல்லாம் செய்கிறபடியாக எல்லாருக்கும் கஷ்டப்பட்டவங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் கஷ்டமில்லாத தொழில் வாய்ப்புக்கெல்லாம்.
Deputy Minister of Agriculture Namal Karunaratne expressed his views regarding paddy prices at a workshop held in Hettipola yesterday.
A good price has been given for paddy. Nadu rice is 120 rupees, Samba rice is 125 rupees, Kiri Samba rice is 132. Dried paddy has had up to 14% of its moisture removed. The production cost for 1 kilogram of red Nadu rice is 72 rupees. The farmer who incurred a production cost of 72 rupees sells it for 120 rupees. The production cost of 1 kilogram of white Nadu rice is 92 rupees. It includes labor costs. We have removed the fertilizer subsidy from this. If the fertilizer subsidy were included in this, the production cost would be lower than this. In that case, the farmer would be at a disadvantage. We have removed the fertilizer subsidy. When a farmer who incurred a production cost of 92 rupees sells his paddy for 120 rupees per kilo, it benefits the farmer. During the last Maha season, the farmer did not protest. They did not go on strike. They didn't write posters saying we can't sell paddy. There's no price for paddy. We solved that problem. For the first time in history, we set a price for wet paddy as well. A controlled price has been set for rice. Do not be prepared to sell rice even 5 cents above the controlled price. We are taking strict action against this. We need to protect the consumer, farmer and the middleman.
News First with the people.
In your international news, a major search and rescue operation is continuing through the night in Texas after flash floods killed at least 24 people and left many girls missing from a Christian summer camp.
There was little warning as the Guadalupe River rose 26 feet, which is 7.9 meters in less than an hour, and flooding that followed swept away mobile homes, vehicles and holiday cabins where people were spending the 4th of July weekend. Rescue crews are still searching for up to 25 children who were among the 750 girls attending the Camp Mystic just outside the town of Kerrville, 104 kilometers northwest of San Antonio.
For the parents who are waiting, particularly that had children in Camp Mystic. Camp Mystic is a camp that has over 750 kids. Right now there are 20-some that aren't accounted for. That does not mean they've been lost. They could be in a tree, they could be out of communication. I want all of you to know we will do everything humanly possible 24/7, looking at every tree, turning over every rock, whatever it takes, if your child is one of those truly missing and not just out of touch, to find your daughter.
A state of emergency has been declared in several counties where several roads have been washed away and phone lines are down.
The U.S. National Weather Service declared a flash flood emergency for parts of Kerr County in south-central Texas Hill Country, about 65 miles northwest of San Antonio. A flash flood emergency has been issued by the National Weather Service for northwestern Travis County and far eastern Burnett County around Lake Travis in south-central Texas. National Weather Service said between 3 inches and 7 inches of rain have fallen in the area north of Lake Travis. Some spots measured over 10 inches of rain over the past few hours, with peak rainfall rates reaching 6 inches per hour.
How are the rescue operations carried out?
Bodies have been found, some in cars that were washed down upstream. They came down into the area. Some are adults, some are children. We have 14 choppers, as I said, 12 drones, 9 rescue teams, swimmers in the water.
U.S. President Donald Trump called the tragedy shocking and terrible as the White House pledged additional assistance.
Oh, that's terrible. The floods, it's shocking. They don't know the answer yet as to how many people, but it looks like some young people have died. Any federal aid for that? Oh yeah, sure. We'll take care of it. We're working with the governor. It's a terrible thing.
Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said, quote, "Within 45 minutes, the Guadalupe River rose 26 feet and it was a destructive flood, taking property and sadly lives," end quote.
That hit somewhere around 4 in the morning. The rain came down 12 inches or more per hour. That river rose 26 feet in 45 minutes. It was a dry bed. It had been dry. There wasn't a lot to absorb it. It went down the rocks, and it was a destructive flood, taking property and sadly lives. There have been confirmed deaths. That number changes, and the one thing I've learned in this position over many disasters that Governor Abbott or I have had to cover, the first news is always not the correct news.
In latest developments from the United States, U.S. President Donald Trump has signed his landmark policy bill into law a day after it narrowly passed Congress, amid growing public criticism as key provisions are revealed.
U.S. President Donald Trump has signed his landmark policy bill into law a day after it was narrowly passed by the Congress. The signing event at the White House on Friday afternoon enacts key parts of the Trump agenda, including tax cuts, spending boosts for defense, and the immigration crackdown. Trump hosted a White House signing ceremony aligned with Independence Day celebrations in Washington, D.C.
President, this is the gavel we use to enact the big, beautiful bill, and I want you to have that for your
Are we ready? We're ready. Are you ready?
Moments before the bill signing, there was a flyby of a pair of B-2 bombers, the same kind of aircraft that participated in U.S. strikes on Iran last month, flanked by highly advanced F-35 and F-22 fighter aircraft. US President Donald Trump told supporters that this, quote-unquote, one big beautiful bill will unleash economic growth. However, he must now convince several Americans, as polling suggests many disapprove of parts of the bill.
We're going to make official the greatest victory yet when I sign the one big beautiful bill. And before I start, I want to tell you that I've never seen people so happy in our country because of that, because so many different groups of people are being taken care of, the military and civilians of all types, jobs of all types. We're adding things like the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, child tax credits. Let's do it in one beautiful big, we want one big beautiful bill. I said that to this newscaster, and I think a lot of the congressmen and senators were watching, and they said, let's name the bill that, the one big beautiful bill. And that's what we did, and what we've done is put everything into one bill. It's never happened before. It's the biggest bill of its type in history. We've never had anything like that before. Nothing like that they thought would be possible to get passed. So you have the biggest tax cut, the biggest spending cut, the largest border security investment in American history. We want to have strong borders, and the only thing is we want to have great elections too.
Several members of his own Republican Party were opposed because of the impact on rising US debt, and Democrats warned the bill would reward the wealthy and punish the poor. The 870-page package mainly includes extending 2017 tax cuts of Trump's first term, steep cuts to Medicaid spending, the state-provided healthcare scheme for those on low incomes and the disabled, new tax breaks on tipped income, overtime and social security, a budget increase of $150 billion for defense, a reduction in Biden-era clean energy tax credits, and $100 billion to immigration and customs enforcement. The celebratory mood follows days of tense negotiations with Republican rebels in Congress and days of cajoling on Capitol Hill, sometimes by the president himself. The House voted on the bill with only 2 Republicans going against, joining all 212 Democrats united in opposition. The one big beautiful bill passed by 218 votes to 214.
When I get that, I say, blow up a condom.
Exactly. And then it blows up like a balloon. I was like, this is not fitting, bro. That's another problem that you're having.
Now I'm saying, how many can we fit in?
Yeah, exactly.
Prioritizing crucial conversations. No guilt, no shame, no myths. This is Leaving No One Behind. This Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV1.
To mark its 75th anniversary, the National Photographic Art Society of Sri Lanka has organized the National Photography Festival and the 21st International Photography Exhibition in Colombo.
The National Photographic Art Society of Sri Lanka has organized the National Photography Festival, held alongside its 21st International Photography Exhibition, which begins today and concludes tomorrow, the 6th of July, in Colombo. Photographers from across the country, photography students and professionals attended today's event. The festival kicked off today with workshops, educational programs and conferences covering the technical, artistic and practical sides of photography.
With that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight. Thank you for watching. Good night.